All right. How are we doing? Can everyone hear me? Check, check. Two. Let's check my volume. Oh, yeah, we sound pretty good. Check this volume. Don't know where it's at. All right. Welcome, everyone. Uh, right now, it looks like it's just Alan. Hey, Alan. What's up? To Daxt. Basically, I formulated a point system that rewards playmakers. So Buck fans can figure out who's actually, making the plays on defense. That's how it started. Then I said, well, if I do defense, I might as well do offense. So I came up with a scoring system for both. They're pinned at the top of my hey Lane. They're pinned at the top of my Twitter feed. Well, they will be. I think I forgot to pin it. With this week's point system, shows you who's leading on offense, shows you who's leading on defense. But this is going to be a YouTube only pod. This will not be ripped and put out on our podcast feed. And basically, the main reason for is because it's going to be pretty boring. Um, I'll be going over the way I'm going to do. I'm going to do it drive by drive and who got points and how they got points. So you can get a glimpse into how I'm scoring it and see how it works. So you can, sort of put the round peg in the round hole, if you will. And if you're just listening to it and I start on offense and I talk about Mike Evans and I go, he got a point for this and got a point for that and point for this. By the time I get to the fourth guy in the offense, you're going to forget how many points Mike Evans had, and you're going to forget why he Patreon material. That's a good idea. Um, we thought about that, but I think I was selfish with it because I want everyone. If I'm gonna put all this work in, I want everyone to see it, not just the select few super cool people that give to our Patreon account. But like I said, everything's in the works. Actually, I'm going to be making a scoring change sort of halfway through this. That I figured out, or I thought I'm like, hey, there should be an extra point given to here. So, without further ado, once again, it's up on my Twitter feed about the rules and how everything's graded, and then it has all the offensive points and all the defensive points that are put up there. But I'm gonna go ahead and go through drive by drive here. Uh, Saints got the ball. Not surprisingly, if you remember the game, the first time the defense on the field, no points were given. Nobody stopped anybody. They went down first down after first down. Since they scored a touchdown, the Bucs didn't stop them on third down at all. There were no sacks. They didn't stop anybody for negative yardage. They didn't stop anybody for 2 or less yards. There was no pass breakups. There was nothing. So no points for the defense. On their first drive. Then the offense came on the field, and of course we had some points. Fitzpatrick is on here. Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, that's the one that. Sorry, I'm probably gonna do this a lot. I'm gonna interact with the chat room, so it's just not me talking. This is something that you can get. Like we have a bunch of stuff. Basically, it's a place that'll slap our label on anything. And Brent ordered this, a large one, and I was messaging him. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna order mine because as everyone's made fun of me, it looks like I'm in a cheap hotel on US 19. It's like a big road here in the St. Petersburg area. Uh, so I was buying one for this backdrop, and Brent's like, "No, I got this huge one. Let me send it to you." Well, it turned into a Greek tragedy of us trying to get together, of him getting it to me. So finally, he mailed it to me. I got it yesterday. Uh, so I went to Home Depot and I rigged something up, and I can actually unhook it from the ceiling. It's on strings. It's hanging there. I can unhook it from the ceiling. So my girl Cheryl doesn't get mad at me and yell at me all the time about this having permanently be here. But I've been working with the camera angles, and I got lighting. I got some extra lighting in here. Oh, I forgot to bring this over. There we go. I got some extra lighting in here, just to brighten things up. So back to DAC stats. Offense gets the ball. Like I said, Fitzpatrick, I didn't do there's no QB rating as far as completions and yardage and, getting first downs, throwing for first downs on third downs and things like that. Because if you want to know that, you can find that on the internet. Like that is everywhere. If you want to know about a QB, there's all kinds of stats. There's all kinds of ratings you can find out about. But Fitzpatrick, because he ran so much, he got points for those things. So if you remember, if we got the ball and it was like 3rd and 1, and we ran a quarterback sneak, which should have been your first clue that Monken was actually calling the plays because Dirk doesn't run quarterback sneaks. So Fitzpatrick got a point for picking up the first down, and he got a point for doing it on 3rd down. So he got 2 points there. Then a few plays later, it might have been almost immediately later, the touchdown to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson got a point for catching a pass, or I guess I shouldn't say catching it. It was in between 30 and 64 yards. We get a point for that, and then 6 points for the TD. So that's where that's at. Then the defense comes out. We get our first point from the defense, and oddly enough, it is Will Golston. He gets his only point of the game. There's a difference between QB pressures and QB pressures that count in my scoring system. Just because you get a QB pressure, if the QB throws the ball and completes it, and completes it for a first down, or completes it for a touchdown, or completes it at all that really says is you didn't get there fast enough. But in the stat box, when you look up the score, the box score, it'll say, this person got a QB pressure. Well, unless it ends in an interception or an incomplete, then you really didn't do your job. That's the way I see it as far as QB pressure. So this was the only incomplete pass I think Drew Brees had in the first quarter. He was rolling out. Will Golston was playing tackle. He fought through a bunch of guys and closed the gap on Brees, and Brees was like biding his time, and he had to throw. Basically, he had to throw it away because Golston was bearing down on him. So Golston got a point for that. And then Quan Alexander and Gerald McCoy got a tackle for 2 yards or less. So if you get a tackle for loss, that's a point. And if you get a tackle, you tackle the running back and he gets 2 yards or less, that's a point. 3 yards, that is, you don't get a point for that. So those guys basically made the tackle together, so they both got a point there. And that was it for the defense on their second time they had the ball. Offense comes back out. Peyton Barber gets 3 points for a run over 20 yards. Then he got 2 points for a run between 7 and 19 yards, which I have changed from 6 to 10 is a point, and from 10 to 19 is 2 points. Anything over 20 is 3 points. And he picked up 2 first downs, so that's a point each. So on that drive, Peyton Barber ended up with 7 points. Chris Godwin got a point for a reception between 15 and 29 yards, and a point because he got a first down. Mike Evans got a point for catching the ball between 15 and 29 yards, and a point on first down. Now you're starting to see how this can be boring. This is for the diehards that really want to know how I get into this stuff, and I'm going to try to. I'll figure out ways to make it. I'm thinking about talking to Brent to be able to maybe, like, while I'm talking, put in a clip. Like I can make a GIF of the play, and I'll get some kind of software I can drop it in like over me, and you can see the play that I'm talking about. So I'm gonna be looking about that. But finally, and then Fitzpatrick. Of course, that was the time he ran it in for a touchdown. He gets 6 points for that. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think, is leading after the first 2 series, is leading 8 points to 7 points over Deshaun Jackson, which is kind of funny. But that's pretty much almost the last of the points that Fitzpatrick gets. The defense comes out again, no points. Saints were right down the field. They scored. It was all over after, wasn't all over after that, but no points to the defense the next time they came out. So we're back to the offense. Godwin gets 2 points for a catch over 15 yards and a first down. And then O.J. Howard ended up getting 3 points all on one play. One, because it was on 3rd down, move the change. You get a point for that because you pick up the first. And you get a point for picking up the first down, but you get an extra point if it happens on 3rd. And they had a catch between over 30 yards, but under 60 yards. So he got a point for that. The defense comes out, and Vin Curry records our only sack, 2 points for that, but he gets a point for it because it came on an extra point because it comes on 3rd down. 3rd down is a big thing in my scoring system because basically it's kind of like a mini turnover in my eyes. You've stopped them and they have to punt. So you get an extra point for that. So Curry ended up getting 3 points there. Offense comes back out on the field. Peyton Barber got a point for rushing. Mike Evans got 3 points because he caught a pass over 15 yards. And he caught two passes on that drive where they both went for first downs. So if it's under 15 yards for receiver, you don't get any points. Like you get a 10-yard catch, big deal. 12-yard, okay, no big deal. You're kind of doing your job. But if it goes for a first down, you get that point. And so he had 2 catches on that drive. Both were for first downs, but only one of them was over 15 yards. So that's how that goes. OJ Howard shows up again here, a point for a first down and a point for catching the ball over 15 yards. And then Godwin, this is Godwin's touchdown drive, 6 points for the TD, and he gets a point once again because it happened on third down. So 7 points there for Chris Godwin. Defense comes back out. Can you guys tell me in the chat if this is boring as it sounds? If anyone's even still there? I feel like I have to find a way to make this more entertaining. Defense comes back out, and this was the fumble where it was returned for a touchdown from Justin Evans. Justin Evans gets 2 points for the fumble recovery, and of course 6 points for the TD. And then Vernon Hargrave gets 1 point for the forced fumble. 1 point because the tackle was less than 2 yards. And finally, he gets 3 points because his forced fumble was returned for a TD. I need your stat sheet. I know it's a lot. Once again, Brandon, it's on my Twitter feed. I forgot to pin it, but I will pin it as soon as this is over. The breakdown of how things are scored are there. It has a breakdown of how the offensive scored, the defensive scored, and also everyone that scored at least a point versus Saints. And of course, it's going to be a running tally through there. So like next week, I'll have the way it scored, the points against the Eagles, and then the running tally total for the season. Oh, and back to VH2, how he gets 3 points because returned for a TD. So if you tip a ball in the air, it's a pass breakup, you get a point. But if somebody picks it off and runs it in the end zone, that never will never. If you didn't tip the ball, okay, let me start over. You tip the ball up in the air, you get a point for the pass breakup. But if somebody catches it, they get the interception. But if that returns for a touchdown, it never would have started without your pass breakup. So I feel you should get more than 1 point for that. So if you force a fumble, tip a pass, something you did good on defense, you sack the quarterback and force the fumble. If that ends up being a touchdown, you get a bonus 3 points because it's such a big play and you started it by, sort of what you did there on defense, either a pass breakup or a forced fumble. And then the defense comes right back out again because, they scored and they kick off to the Saints. And hey, Ryan Smith shows up. He gets a point for the pass breakup. You remember that where it looks like almost he got there too early against Kamara. It was a bang play. They didn't throw the flag, but it's a pass breakup for Ryan Smith. And then Levante David got a tackle on that play for one of the few times. The Saints quit running the ball after a while, pretty much almost after the first quarter, almost after that fumble by Gillislee, but Levante David bottled up Kamara for less than 2 yards, so he gets a point there. Moving on, halftime. That's what happened. The offense got the ball. We kind of sat on it. That's when we had that big play to Hump, which would have been great for his stat sheet, but they called that block in the back on Donovan Smith, which it was a block in the back, but I would say that's usually a penalty that they don't call a lot. Like, yeah, he kind of pushed in the back a little bit, and by the letter of the law, it was a penalty, but you don't see it get called a lot, if that makes any sense. But anyway, it ended up being halftime. We get the ball back. Things will end up kicking a field goal, but Mike Evans showed up for 4 points, a couple of first downs, and a catch over 30 yards. And then Deshaun Jackson caught a ball for a first down, so he got a point there. Then defense comes back out. This is where the defense started to stop the Saints a little bit. If you go back and look at the game, the defense really didn't play bad in the second half at all. I know the Saints sort of put up points, and made it scary at the end for Buck fans, but they had 2 stops right in a row. They could have stopped him before Levante David missed a tackle. And then when it was like 48-24 and the Saints got back into it at where they went for 2, so I ended up I guess they got like 32 points there. It was back-to-back defensive pass interference calls, I think it was, or it was back-to-back penalties in the Bucks that got them sort of like from their side of the field to way down on our side of the field. So I thought one of them was a ticky-tack call. I can't really remember what the calls were, but it wasn't like the second half the Saints really weren't moving the ball down the field until Catanzaro, missed that field goal. But then they were playing really soft zone, and they're basically like, okay, you can march down the field, but we're only giving you like 8 yards a pop, and that's sort of what I felt happened there. So I thought if you rewatch the game, the second half defense played a lot better. It wasn't easy pickings as it was in the first half for Drew Brees, but the defense comes out, and McCoy got a point for tackle for loss. Quan got a point for tackle for loss. Then Levante Davis, this is one thing I'm also doing, and it was him and Carlton Davis the third. Say it's 3rd and 8, and they throw a pass for 5 yards, and you tackle them short of the first down. Now, the only good thing you did there is you let him catch the ball, and now he at least got 5 yards, maybe got 6 or 7. None of those things are good. He got a 7-yard gain. But the good part about it is it was 3rd and 8, and they only got 7, and you tackled them short of the third down, which means a mini turnover, which means you get a point. And it was hard to tell if I should give the point to Levante David or Carlton Davis, so I gave them both a point there. Offense comes out one of the few times, I think it was the only time they went 3 and out. I believe that was the one where people are saying Fitzpatrick missed Chris Godwin down the sidelines. There's a bunch of things there. The quarterback fell down, but the cornerback fell down because Chris Godwin tried to move to the inside of him instead of trying to get away from the boundary, and they clipped feet and he fell down. Now, when he clipped feet, he basically came to a stop and had to restart. But at that time, Fitzpatrick was already loading up and throwing it. So the spot that Fitzpatrick was throwing it to was based off Chris Godwin not, keeping in stride, and he didn't. So as bad as the end pass looked on TV, how he missed him so badly, it was more of the reason it was so bad is because more like Chris Godwin basically came to a stop and had to start again. He almost fell himself. But then if he wouldn't have had that hesitation, they wouldn't have clipped feet. The cornerback wouldn't have fallen down, so he wouldn't have been that wide open in the first place. It was just mistiming. If Fitzpatrick could have seen it and reloaded, it would have been a big play because he was wide open. Probably doesn't score because when somebody's used that wide open, quarterbacks tend to throw it to where they're standing instead of leading them. And so Chris Godwin has been standing there waiting for the ball as the safety comes over. I'm sure he would have caught it, but I think he would have probably tackled just about right away. So that's sort of my take on that whole Chris Godwin, Ryan Fitzpatrick miss. But yeah, that was the first time besides when they knelt on halftime that the Bucks offense didn't score any points. The defense comes back out. This is something I'm doing for the defensive line pretty much only. There was a false start, and I'm giving a point to McCoy because it was his guy across from him. When they false start, you always hear the announcers say, "Oh, he's trying to get a jump because Gerald McCoy's in front of him," so he got a point for that. And then if they get a holding penalty, especially on a pass, whoever the offensive player holds, I'm talking about offensive line holding, then I think the defensive lineman should get a point because you could make an argument, well, if he didn't hold him, he would have had a sack. So just for defensive line right now, and I think it's going to stay that way, they're getting points for that. So McCoy got a point because the guy in front of him jumped, and then Justin Evans got a point because he stopped the guy short of a first down, kind of like the same scenario I just talked about. It was like 3rd and 8, threw like a 5-yard pass. Justin Evans came up and made the stop. 3rd down. Now it's 4th down, mini turnover. You should get a point for keeping the guy short of the first down. The offense came out. Hump gets on the board. Sorry, gonna read the chat here. You think Vita will play against the Eagles? I don't know. I think he'll play against Pittsburgh no matter what. We'll know Wednesday, honestly. Like, we will know Wednesday. If Vita is out there practicing Wednesday, then he's going to go against the Eagles. Even if he's just like limited participation, I think he'll end up going. It's been reported that he's jogging like in full, he's like full gear, all dressed out, and he's they called him wind sprints, but at 350 pounds, how fast is that really? So he's doing like gassers, fully dressed out gassers. So we'll see. I hope so. I would like to tell you yes. My gut feeling, which is pretty good because I did say that Muckin was going to call the plays, and I did say Donovan Smith would start against the Saints. Almost a week before it happened, on both of those, really. My gut feeling is yes, that Villa will play, but I don't know. No, let me rephrase that. Villa will be available, but I'm not sure he'll be active because I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to pick up. But then, Nassib played 24 snaps, so I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say this is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Villa will. I don't know. Oh, I'm gonna say he's gonna play. Okay, then I'm taking too long on this. I'm gonna say he's gonna play. Pittsburgh for sure. Eagles 60%. Then they off. Oh, Hump. Yep, Hump got a couple of points. He picked up a first down. Got a pass over 15 yards. And then the big touchdown pass to Mike Evans, where he got a point because on third down. He got 2 points because it was a pass over 30 yards, between 30 and 64 yards, and then 6 points for the TD. And the last page, probably thankfully for you guys out there, thanks for hanging with me. The defense comes out. Vinny Curry got another point here because he was held. Quan got a point for the forced fumble. And then Ryan Smith got 2 points for the fumble recovery. Now you might be thinking, why is the forced fumble only worth 1 and the fumble recovery worth 2? Well, if you force the fumble, you should be rewarded for that. But if the offense, the other team recovers it, what did you really do? So the real key there is recovering the ball. Like that's what makes the turnover, obviously. So I can't give 2 points for the forced fumble and then give 2 points for a fumble recovery, or 1 point for the fumble recovery and 1 point for the forced fumble, because the fumble recovery is really the key there. Like that's what you're looking for. Yes, thank you for forcing the fumble, but you have to recover it. So if you force fumble and recover it, you get 3 points. But Quan got a point for the forced fumble, and Ryan Smith got 2 points for the fumble recovery. Back to the offense, Mike Evans got a point for picking up a first down. I think every catch Mike Evans had was for at least a first down. He at least got a point for the first down. I don't give points for catches. You get points for converting first downs. You get points for picking up third downs, and you get points for I think it has to be over 15 yards for you to get a point on a reception. Like a 7-yard reception on 1st and 10, you're just doing your job. Like that's nothing. It's no big deal. That's what you're supposed to do. But if you get the first down, or if it's on third down, you get the first down, you get points for that. After that, it's just sort of like how it's explosives, I guess. I guess is the best way to put it. Then the defense comes out. Vernon Hargraves had the pass breakup down near the goal line where he hurt his shoulder. Hope he ends up being okay. The Saints end up scoring, so that was the only points that the defense got on that drive. The offense comes back out, and that's where it was like 3rd and 3. And you remember Fitzpatrick hit Jackson deep, and that's where he got knocked out of the game. But Jackson got a point for the first down, got a point because it happened on 3rd down, and 2 points because it was over 30 yards. Defense comes out again, no points. That's where the Saints drove down and made it really scary. And then finally, the last one, Fitzpatrick hits the old score sheet again because of his scramble, which was on 3rd down. He picked the first down, so each point for that. And it was over 10 yards because it was 3rd and 11. So he gets 2 points for that. So to wrap this up as far as the totals, I'm going to do this in highest to lowest. Deshaun Jackson got 20. Mike Evans got 19. Fitzgerald got 12, and that's like I said, that's just what he did with his legs. He got 12 points just off his legs by picking up first downs and touchdown, and really on 3 plays. But it just happened to be both of his runs picked up first downs on 3rd down. So that's sort of like double points and a touchdown you get there. Yeah, the ref did screw Humphreys on that 60-yard play. I talked about that a little earlier. You can go back and watch the video if you want. My explanation about how that goes. Oh, my chat just disappeared. What happened? Anyway, Godwin. Oh, it's back. Yes, Zach, I'm with you there. That's exactly pretty much what I said. The penalty on Donovan was very questionable. After Fitzpatrick with 12 comes Chris Godwin with 11, Peyton Barber with 8, OJ Howard with 5, and Adam Humphries with 2. And then I have the defense right here, and these really aren't in order, but I will put them in order. Justin Evans, basically mostly on his scoop and score, which was a fumble recovery and a return for a touchdown. He got 8 points off that, finished the day with 9. In second place, might surprise some people, is Vernon Hargraves, but that also is off the fumble recovery mostly. He ended up getting 5 points, or excuse me, the forced fumble ended up getting 5 points for that, and he picked the extra points in the pass breakup. It's it wasn't a good defensive, as you saw. They scored 40 points, so it really wasn't a great defensive showing as far as points. After that, Vinny Curry gets 3, mostly off his sack, or excuse me, 4 points total. Most of that 3 of those came off sack. Gerald McCoy had 3 off 3 separate plays. Quan Alexander had 3 off 3 separate plays. Ryan Smith came in with 3 points on a pass breakup and a fumble recovery. Then we had Levante David with 2 points, and I think both of those were tackling people short of the first down marker on first down. Carlton Davis got a point for doing that same thing, and Will Golson got a point for a defensive pressure that actually amounted to something, which was an incomplete pass. So that's it. I will be very happy to take any type of criticism or explanation or something. I can make this more fun, not quite so boring, because I understand it's just me sort of reading into the, just looking down. Hey, this is what happened. Like I said, I'm looking into. I will ask Brent about how to, what program I have to buy to be able. Maybe I can slide clips in of the plays I'm talking about. The NFL Game Day Pass, which I signed up for, has this really cool condensed version of the game right now, where you can watch the entire game in 45 minutes. Like, they hike the ball, the guy gets tackled. The next thing you see is they're lined up again. They hike the ball, the guy gets tackled. They hike the ball, and it just the game just goes by really quick. And that's what I used. I had to pause it a lot, and because I don't know my scoring system in my head, where I can just say, okay, I know what that play was. I had to pause it and go back, but they have a 10-second back and a 10-second forward button, which really helped. Where I could go back and see, okay, because they cut it so short after the play, I'm not exactly sure how long that pass was. So I have to go back and, I have to say, okay, they're at the 32 and the pass ended up being at the opponent's 42. And I sort of have to do the math there, which isn't a big deal. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, actually, I'm really glad they have this condensed version out there. What do you think of Mike Smith's scheme? I'm just curious because I hate it. Well, we shall see. I think you're going to hate it against the Eagles as well, because the Bucs signed a cornerback today who's kind of bounced around the league. Oddly enough, he's of the 3 years he's actually played, because I think the first couple years he was just a practice squad guy. Of the 3 years he's actually played, he's got 10 interceptions. He's 5'11", 192 pounds, which is big weight wise. 5'11" is pretty average, maybe a little tall for cornerbacks. I don't know, tall for us, for our cornerbacks. But as of right now, if Hargraves can't go and Grimes can't go, you're looking at Carlton Davis, Ryan Smith, and MJ Stewart in the slot, with Javian Elliott, spelling maybe Stewart in there. But if Carlton Davis and Ryan, those are the guys, they're not coming off the field, because behind them you have nobody. You have this new guy we just signed. So I don't think they'll be taking many chances. I think you're going to see a lot of soft zone, and they're going to depend on the pass rush. They might bring the linebackers more than usual to get to Foles. But what I noticed from Foles in the Eagles game is he doesn't throw the ball down the field like Matt Ryan. They really don't throw the ball down the field. Everything's underneath. So if you play that soft zone, you're really going to make the Eagles march down the field. And is Nick Foles a good enough quarterback, an accurate enough quarterback, to do that time and time and time again, unlike something Drew Brees can do. So we shall see. I'm definitely, until we get, Hargraves back, and he might be back this week. Who knows? I'm not really going. I'm not counting on Brent Grimes this year. Not because I don't like him, or I just think, it's, I think Father Time's finally catching up with him, and this might be the year. It's a soft tissue groin injury, which is basically just an inside hamstring, and that can take forever. He was out a lot during the preseason, so we'll see. But if you don't like the off coverage you saw against the Saints, you're probably going to see it against the Eagles, especially if Vernon Hargreaves is out. He's not going to take any chances. He's going to make and that'd be the best way to play it in my book, is you play off and make the Eagles beat you 9 yards at a time, and see if you can do that. Of course, everything changes, depends on how our offense is doing, and if we can get pressure with 4, then the cornerbacks look better than they are. So that is that. Let me finish up answering these questions. Let's see. Brandon says, "What was I going to ask him? How many times did you go through the before you got the points down?" Good stuff. I just once. Like, how many times did I've reworked the points, I think twice, like just kind of tweaked it here and there. It was something I was always mulling in my head, and then when I started to write them down, I only had to tweak it here or there. So that wasn't, that really wasn't a big deal. And watching the game, I could just pause it, and then I'd pause it, and what I would do, I'd go to the top of the screen, and I'd click on. I had the scoring system on, open up in a different tab, and I'd go, okay, okay. It probably took me an hour and a half to get through it, and get all the points down, and then I had to sort of organize them in my book, and I'll figure out a better way to do it a little quicker. Um, and then I had to add up the points, which I had to go back and check. It took me just about as long as to add up the points and make sure I got them all right and crossing them all off, and then making sure I could read it to be able to tell you guys. But I think the second time is going to go a lot smoother. But it really was a pain in the butt, as much as I thought it might be. With that condensed coverage, that condensed game thing from NFL Game Pass, it really worked for me. And I've heard tons of people complain about the interface for the NFL Game Pass. It's usually on the All 22 film. I watched the TV version is what I did, because I know the guy's numbers. I just need to see where the ball starts, where the ball ends, and who tackled the guy. On offense, where the ball starts, where the ball ends, and who caught the pass, or who was handed off the ball. And I know that right away because I know the team so well. I don't know why he's the only blitzes in the red zone. Well, I don't either. He's talking about Mike Smith's scheme. I'd have to look at that really. Is there any more word on Beckwith? Beckwith is, what did they do with Beckwith? Oh, they put him on the PUP list, so he can come back anytime. I haven't heard anything about it. I think the next time you hear anything out of Beckwith is he'll be practicing. Like, that's it. It'll, and you'll see it on Twitter. All the beat reporters will be like, "Hey, Beckwith is back," and he can, because being on the PUP list means you didn't play in any preseason games. Or excuse me, that's not true. You didn't practice all training camp. I'm not sure if it goes back to OTAs and minicamp, but if you didn't practice all training camp, you can be put on the PUP list, which means as soon as you're ready, they can bring you back. Now, since Mitch Unrein did participate in training camp, you have to wait till the 53-man roster set to put him on IR, because if you wait then you can bring him back week 9, after week 8. He can return to the team and practice week 6, but he can't come back and play until week 9. But you can't just drop him off the squad in the middle of training camp and put him on IR. If you do that, you either have to pay him the money for an injury settlement, or you eventually just got to let him go. And you can't bring him if you put him on IR during training camp, they can't come back. They have to be released by the team. You pay them money for the injury settlement. They got to be released by the team, and you got to wait a certain amount of weeks before you can bring them back. But it's actually 2 weeks after everyone else can sign them. So that's sort of the game you have to play. And with Mitch Unrein, they kept him on the 53-man roster so they could put him on IR, and they put him on IR. They could bring him back after week 8. Since once again, since Beckwith didn't participate in any training camp, you can put him on the pup and you can bring him back as soon as he's healthy. Then, of course, you got to find room for him. Let's see. Beckwith and called prevent defense threw down the field. It was just getting annoying. Okay, we're yelling about Mike Smith. They run a lot of RPOs. Yeah, the Eagles do run a lot of RPOs. And I guess we all watched that Thursday. Well, most of us watched that Thursday night game, and half the line pass blocks and half the line run blocks. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't. If you really remember about Nick Foles, is he didn't play that great during the regular season last year. He played phenomenal in the playoffs. Obviously, we all pretty much saw that. And then he didn't have a good preseason at all, and he didn't really have a good week 1 against Atlanta. So I think if the Bucs can bottle up Jay Ajayi, he's their hard inside runner. If the Bucs can bottle him up and make Foles beat you, I think we do fine. I think it's going to be. I think it's depending on how many points the offense scores, but I think we can hold the Eagles under 24 points. I really do. Last week I was saying if we don't hold the Saints under 24 points, we lose. Obviously, I'm not going to say that this week, but I think it's a much easier feat, I guess, to be able to keep the Eagles under 24 points than it would be the Saints. And just because I just don't think Nick Foles is the quarterback that he was in the playoffs, and there's a thousand reasons why. There's a reason why he's a backup quarterback, this, that, and the other thing. He may be one of the best backup quarterbacks, if not the best backup quarterback in the league, but you saw during the regular season and you saw during this preseason, you saw week 1 why Nick Foles isn't a franchise QB. All right, last question I'm answering. Heard you just picked up another cornerback. Yeah, just Marcus Williams. I talked a little bit about him. I'll do it real quick again. 5'11", about 192. He's been in the league a while, but a lot of it's been on practice squads. So of the 3 actual NFL seasons he's played, he's actually got 10 picks in 3 years. So I mean, we'll see. But I think we might be the 4th or 5th team since he's been in the league, and he hasn't been in there that long. So he's bounced around a lot. He's just there for depth, man. It's basically he's there for if Hargraves can't come back. If Hargraves can't come back, the guy's going to be active. They're trying not to play him, but he'll be active Sunday because you have to have 5 cornerbacks up. You just have to, because 3 of them are going to be on the field most of the time anyway. Rojo actually plays. We'll have to see. It all depends on injury. To that defensive line. Depends about injury to the. What I'm a little shocked about, and I know we're getting way off Daxt stats now, but who cares? We're talking. Yeah, no problem, man. No, about Bucks the World UK about the insight about Marcus Williams. If they let go of Geddes, so that drops our offensive line down to 9, which I think is fine. I think they were really carrying 10 to begin with because they weren't sure if Donovan Smith was going to be back week 1. So they'd always carry 9. They'd carry 9 and put 7 up for Sunday. But since Donovan Smith's such a question mark, they had to carry 10 for 53-man roster. And the first time they had a chance to get it back down to 9, they did. Yeah, they don't have Alshon Jeffries playing. Yeah, I mean, it's if you're gonna play the Eagles, now's the time to play them. I'm telling you, bottle up Jai, and it's gonna, and it's a winnable game. It's an extremely winnable game, and I do not expect the same performance out of Fitzpatrick as he did against the Saints. I think he'll be very good, but you have to remember during the preseason games, Jameis looked great all 3 games. Fitzpatrick looked good the first game, looked a little shaky the second game, looked great the third game. Came out and, when the lights came on, he showed up. So, kudos to him. But this might be the game with the Eagles defense where you sort of go, all this hype about, is Jameis coming back? Is Foles going to be the one? Or is Fitzpatrick going to be the one? Like, how can you bench him? Well, wait till after this game. And I think everyone will be like, okay, I'm ready for Jameis to come back. Not that we're going to lose, not that he's going to throw 3 picks. It's just not going to be this offensive firepower. And you're going to start to see some of the limitations of a quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick has for your team. So, I mean, like I said, we'll see. We'll see. Definitely a winnable game. Like I said, if you bought up JJ, I think we will win. Anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Dax Stats. Uh, like I said, this will not be going on the podcast feed. So if you ever sort of wondered about how I get to these stats, I tweeted them out. I'm going to be pin up the last time I'll say this. I will be pinning up the way I make the way I come up with the point system will be up there, and then also up there will be all the leaders, everyone that scored a point. And then after next week, I'll have the Philly breakdown and then the total for the year. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys like this. Please, once again, any way that you think can be more entertaining, please chime in, and we'll get this to something that a lot of people will like. I think it's a good way to look in on the team. Rewarding playmakers and then not rewarding people for making a tackle 22 yards down the field because you didn't do your job. Anyway, we will see you soon. Um, Look for this probably to come out every Tuesday. It all depends on, sort of how my work schedule goes and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to look to go every Tuesday. Anyway, I keep saying I'm going to say goodbye. I'm finally saying goodbye. I'm glad you guys like the flag. Looks good. Brent and I, last thing, Brent and I are recording tonight, and we got Carmen Vitale, the new beat writer for the Buccaneers. And so if you have any questions for her, you can tweet at me, tweet at Petercast, tweet at Brent, or send in an email. We're going to have her on as a special guest. We're going to talk to her a little bit. So if you're not familiar with her, follow her on Twitter at Carmi V. She's a lot of fun. She's nice, fresh breath of fresh air as far as actual Buccaneer media people go. She's a fun follow. So I will probably talk to you tomorrow because we're recording tonight, and will be downloaded when you wake up tomorrow. The I'm not sure what we call it, end of the final wrap up. I don't know. Brent does all that stuff. I'm screwing it up. I'm out of here. Bye.